All right, you've all been waiting for it. What is underneath this covering? Fraser's a 10. I'm like a 10.5 excited. So let's unveil it now and talk about it. Fraser, if you would get an N. It feels very Price is Right now. So there we go. Welcome everybody to the DJI Dock first look. Very excited to have it here with you today. So the first thing, obviously, those of you that met us in person know that Fraser and I are both 6'6", so that will give you an idea of the scale of this particular product. So first thing you're going to look at, we're actually not 6'6", I made that up, as you know. It's about 48 inches by 48 inches, a relatively small square. So, drone in the box. This is a very small and simple drone in the box system from DJI. So once again, we have a winner. So we'll be excited to show you our first look at this today. Should we open it up and show the people?
Let's open it up.
Let's open it up. Should we cue the dramatic music?
It makes its own music.
Oh, okay. There we go. So first of all, very simple operation, as you can see. So one of the things we've been working with drone in the box systems now for about 18 months. We have some very good ones, some very good partners. This is probably simplest of any of the ones we've seen for design. Wouldn't you say, Freight?
I would. So mechanically, relatively simple. So very few moving parts. Charging is done in a very simple way. So less to go wrong in the field. And then also from the point of view of the operator experience, it's relatively straightforward, which is a positive thing.
Excellent. So relatively simple. It's not super heavy. It's about 220 pounds. So Fraser and I, although we are obviously Jack Beast, are able to lift that out of the truck by ourselves. And so it does fit into Fraser's swanky Toyota Tundra and a Tacoma. Which one is it?
It's the Tacoma.
So the Tacoma, the smaller, not quite as big and gas guzzling as the Tundra, but it does fit in there. So all those photos we've seen about having this mobile are absolutely true, and we have in fact had it mobile.
Yeah, we've even deployed it out of the bed with pickup. So for transport and install setup, that makes things a little easier.
Okay, great. So why don't we start with that? Why don't we talk about setting up? What was the first thing about setting this up that really you noticed?
Well, it's not super complicated. We basically just need power and internet. On setup, we do need RTK connection one time, but setup was pretty seamless.
It's really impressive. So again, we've been mentioning that we've been working with drone in the box systems for about 18 months now, and the other ones we've seen are often significantly bigger than this, significantly more complicated, and they take 2 or 3 technicians a day or more to set up. Not the case with this one at all.
Not at all.
So what do we need to actually set up and deploy this?
We really just need an electrical connection and grounding. We need decent quality internet. We need an RTK N-trip connection or an RTK receiver one time, and maybe 2 or 3 hours of time for first time initial setup, and we're ready to operate.
Yeah, incredibly fast. So what do we need the RTK for, Fraser?
We need to localize the dock very precisely one time. After that, it'll store that information. It just needs very precise convergence on where it's actually located on set.
Right, and that'll be obviously for positioning and ongoing operations. And so one of the great things is we just use our AMLID. We take it out, very small, portable, whatever, $3,000-4,000. Boom, you're done. You're set up, and you're way to go. Really, really impressive in that regard for sure. Secondly, the big thing is 120 volt. You can plug it into a wall, right? So you don't need any fancy electricians. Nothing wrong with being an electrician. We love electricians. You don't need any fancy ones. So that's another big thing. Let's talk about some of the preliminary testing we've done. It's been pretty cold.
It has. We've also had snow. Quite a lot of snow. So far, no problems. Good to see.
Right. So we're looking forward to testing this. You can't see it out there now, but this is the Great White North, and it is rather chilly when we're doing the testing, so we expect to see some more heavy snow. And that'll be the test, as it is with any drone in the box system, to see what you can do with heavy duty snow. This one does have heating in the sides that will be designed for removing ice from the outside, so we don't have anything dropping on there. But that'll be the biggest thing that we'll be testing in terms of design. So we got RTK set up, we got regular power, and we're needing an internet connection.
Yeah, so we can use a Cat6 cable to plug this directly into an outlet somewhere, or we could use something like an LTE module, which is what we've done to have this particular unit mobile for our testing. So lots of options there. We just need an internet connection, not driving.
Right, and so that's gonna enable all kinds of different applications once we talk about the software, which we'll talk about in a second, because it's not as sexy as the hardware, obviously. So first thing, you're going to look at this and you're going to say, hey, that looks familiar. And that's because it is familiar. It's an M30T. So it's an M30T with a bit of modification on the legs, which we'll show you a little bit of later. Already registered with Transport Canada up here. Already registered, I think, with the FAA down south. So nothing you need to know. As far as the regulators are concerned, it's a regular drone because it is a regular drone. So it flies like that. All the reliability, all the performance you've come to expect with DJI. 7-kilometer range from the base station. We obviously haven't tested it that far yet, but we know with DJI OcuSync, which runs from the box, not a controller, that it's going to work. It's going to work as good as anything on the market, so that's exciting. The other cool thing about this is it does have an LTE module, so it's not functional in the US at the moment, due to regulations with Chinese parts. It does work up north of the border here, so we will be able to test and deploy that. We've had good success deploying other systems through all Bell, Telus, and Rogers, all of those various carriers. So potentially unlimited range as long as you have Wi-Fi signals, or excuse me, LTE signals. Any other comments about the hardware for it?
Sure, just going back to the regulatory side for a moment. Dock does have space for payload attachments that would get bolted on top of the drone, so things like the speaker spotlight payload, but also in the future parachute modules might be available for operations of people. Those should fit inside the dock no problems.
That's excellent. So one of the things you're going to know is regulatory approval. So RMUS is working pretty significantly with the FAA and Transport Canada on regulatory approvals and processes for any drone in the box, this one in particular as well. And that will be part of our deployment practice. Now, for a lot of you that are not going to be able to just deploy it autonomously, fully out of the box, it does work with the controller, so we do have a controller there. So you are able to take manual control and do all the kinds of things that you might need for your safety protocols as you do the testing. But it does work directly through the system, through the internet, through a web interface for remote operations. Lastly, we'll just kind of talk a little bit about a quick recap of the camera sensor. One of the things with these other drone box products is there's a wide variety in the quality of the aircraft and the quality of the sensor. So obviously this is the most reliable aircraft, or one of them certainly, that you're going to be able to get. So that's one box to tick off. The sensor for this one specifically is the stock one on the M30T, which is going to give you 640 res thermal, 12 megapixel wide, the 16x optical with the 200x hybrid zoom. So you'll have those opportunities there. Not really a mapping system. That we may see that option available later, but primarily right now for inspection kinds of applications. Also will fly for approximately 40 minutes. The really interesting part of it as well, 25-minute rapid charge time. I don't think that, we haven't tested it all the way, I don't think that's going to give you 100%, but for kind of continuous type operations or fast operations, it'll probably take you up to 80 or 90% really fast, which is going to be consistent with DJI batteries there.
Yeah, and that should be adequate for most mission profiles, and also gives the ability to do a quick turnaround time. So into the dock for charging and then back out again to respond to something that may arise.
Excellent. So the dock itself has backup power for 5 hours, and why that's important is if you lose power in the middle of a mission, the dock will not lose any signals, and so the drone will be still able to return to home and shut itself down, and then close up the box as well when it lands, so you won't have to worry about just not having anywhere to come back and losing connection.
And depending on the application, the type of site where this is going to be installed, power outage might actually bring demand for more drone operations to inspect security, things of that nature. So you can still operate it in a loss of power event.
Now, software. So this system right now runs on the DJI Flight Hub 2 software. There is an API for the software available as well. So Flightbase already has software which they deployed at DJI Airworks on the first appearance of that. We are experimenting with it so far. Pretty impressed as well.
It is, yeah. Mainly because in addition to the functionality that we would get from Flight Hub 2, which is mission planning, mission scheduling, as well as full manual flight controls, there are also plugins for third-party apps like Pix4D, for example. So if you want to do your mission planning through Pix4D, then third-party dock operating software like Flightbase will allow you to do that.
Excellent. Now, Robotics is also working on something like this. There's other ones as well, but the point is you'll be able to do manual and autonomous flight from a remote interface, be able to control. All of those people are playing nice with each other, and so I hope DJI continues to approach this like they do their hardware with SDKs and open APIs. That's going to allow for a kind of a development stack rather than some of the approaches which are trying to do everything from drone to base to software themselves. I don't think that's a winning approach. I think this is going to be the winning approach. Let DJI do what they do better than anyone, which is build the hardware and then work with third parties on the software if you don't like all the functionality of Flight Hub 2. So Flight Hub 2 is available on a on-prem server version as well. It's not cloud, so you can do that. The other systems as well, Flightbase, Robotics, are available the same. So we'll be working on having Canada-hosted systems as well for those of you that have data security issues. That's all part of the development process. Biggest thing is drone orchestration, different things. You'll have different options for being able to do it. And some of the software functionality is incredible. We'll have a separate section where we'll dig into what you can actually do with these right now. Last thing I will add on those, for those of you that are looking at BVLOS applications as well, and are going to get into some really fancy stuff where you're going to need obstacle avoidance. Most of these systems, the software is compatible with the hardware and requirements of iris automation and some of the other radar and different based software. So you'll be fully able to do that. Anything else you want to add?
No.
I like man a few words there. So that's our first look. So we'll be able to do a lot more testing. We'll have more in-depth information for you. RMUS is partnering with DJI on the beta program for this, which you'll see available in Q2. We are going to make the offer to 10 companies for a 2-week trial on site where we do all the testing. We work with you, regulatory setup, data collection, software management, everything. So you'll be able to have the opportunity to get an in-depth look at what this system and RMUS can do for you and for drone autonomy. So for RMUS Canada, I'm Kevin Todrell.
I'm Fraser Hull.
And thank you very much for joining us. We look forward to more in-depth coverage.